Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're going to take this comprehensive tutorial roadmap and transform it into your ultimate maker's journey. Now, if you've ever stared at a beautifully forged piece of iron, or maybe a perfectly machined component, and just wondered how a stubborn hunk of raw rock gets coaxed into a gleaming masterpiece, well, you are definitely in the right place. We're taking a highly structured, step-by-step walk through the foundations of metalwork.
Here is our agenda for today. We're going to hit 6 major milestones, exploring where art meets science, mastering the fundamentals, shaping and joining metals, dialing in precision and creativity, presenting the final showcase, and finally, looking at what comes next. It's a really clear progression from raw concepts to a finished product. All right, let's kick things right off with Section 1, Art Meets Science.
You know, metalwork is this fascinating paradox. It really is equal parts rigid engineering and pure creative craftsmanship. Think about it for a second. The exact same principles used to forge the heavy structural steel of a skyscraper are being used to sculpt a delicate, decorative bronze statue. You literally can't have one without the other in this discipline.
But before we even think about swinging a hammer, we've got to map out the journey. We start simply by getting to know our materials. Then we move into mastering the core processes of transformation. Crucially, we drill down on safety because, let's be real, nobody wants to lose a finger, before we finally start applying these skills to heavy-duty, real-world applications.
Moving right along, that brings us to Section 2, Mastering the Fundamentals. Look, before anyone fires up a torch, you need to know exactly what you are holding. So, we divide metals into 2 main camps. Ferrous, meaning they contain iron and are usually magnetic, and non-ferrous. We're going to explore their hidden personalities, stuff like their strength, their malleability, their conductivity, and absolutely most importantly, how to gear up so you can handle them without getting hurt.
Think of this whole phase as the calm before the storm. You really have to respect the materials, understand your blueprints, and completely master the workshop environment before the visceral physical work actually begins.
So once your foundation is rock solid, we step into the active part of the workshop. Section 3, Shaping and Joining Metals.
There is just a highly satisfying, logical workflow to this craft. First, you tame the raw material through brute force, right? That's casting, forging, and pressing. Then, you permanently bond those shapes together through welding or soldering. And finally, you take those raw assemblies and refine the heck out of them with high-precision machining.
Now this is where things get hot, loud, and heavy. To shape metal at its structural level, you're either melting it down to a glowing liquid to pour into molds, that's casting, or you are using pure kinetic physical force to just hammer and press a piece into submission on the anvil. Once it's shaped, it's time to connect. For heavy-duty structural bonds, we use welding. You're creating electric arcs that can actually reach temperatures hotter than the surface of the sun. No joke. But for delicate electronics or jewelry, we dial it back to the finer touches of soldering and brazing. You'll actually put this into practice by getting your hands dirty and joining 2 metal plates together yourself.
Next up, the maker's journey shifts from raw force to fine-tuned control in Section 4, Precision and Creativity.
Okay, now we're introducing some advanced technology into the mix. We trade the heavy hammer for the surgical precision of cutting, drilling, and milling. By using CNC tools, we can achieve shapes and cuts that are accurate to a fraction of a human hair. This is really where strict mathematics takes the wheel. And all that rigorous math and engineering flows right into the payoff, which is finishing and creativity. You've shaped it, you've joined it, and you've machined it. Now, you bring it to life by polishing, coating, and painting. This is the fun part, where you apply all those hard technical skills to build something truly yours, whether that's a custom motorcycle part or a beautiful piece of jewelry. Which brings us to the culmination of your journey in the workshop. Section 5, the final showcase.
At the very end, the torches are turned off and we step back from the workbenches. But this final showcase isn't just your standard show and tell. It's really a time to swap war stories. It's about discussing the real, nitty-gritty challenges you faced and the hard-earned lessons you learned while turning that stubborn, raw material into your masterpiece. Because the ultimate goal here isn't just to stare at a shiny object at the end of the day. It's to realize how the discipline of metalwork acts as the ultimate bridge between heavy industry and fine art. That right there is the golden thread running through this entire craft.
But hey, our exploration doesn't end with just this roadmap overview. Let's look at Section 6, What Comes Next.
As this introduction wraps up, it immediately sets the hook for what's coming next, a true deep dive into the microscopic building blocks of metal. We'll be uncovering exactly why certain metals are chosen for very specific, extreme tasks.
We're going to circle back to that massive dichotomy we talked about earlier, ferrous versus non-ferrous. But this time around, you'll learn how to confidently choose between them, predicting exactly how they're going to react under extreme pressure, intense heat, or the blade of a milling machine.
So, we've mapped the entire journey today. We went from foundational theory to the roaring heat of the forge, all the way to the microscopic precision of CNC machining. The roadmap is completely set. But here is the real question I want to leave you with. Now that you understand how the modern world is shaped, forged, and built from the ground up, what are you going to build with it?